Welcome to this explainer. Today we're giving you an exclusive promotional teaser for our upcoming series, UFOs and the Pentagon AI Deep Dive Debates. We're throwing open the classified dossier on the massive, intense friction between official government declassifications and some truly shocking whistleblower claims. We're going to take the raw data, the newly released files, and the sworn testimonies and really bring them to life for you. Let's dive in. We're going to start right here with this incredibly powerful sworn testimony from Navy Commander David Fravor. He was the commanding officer of the Black Aces Squadron, and honestly, his words set a deeply serious tone for the mystery we're unpacking today. Notice that he's not describing a weather balloon, or a trick of the light, or swamp gas. He's talking about a 2004 encounter with an object that completely outmaneuvered his FA-18 fighter jet. When highly trained top-tier military observers go on the record under oath with statements like this, it absolutely demands our attention. Section 1. The Data Drop. 161 Declassified Files. So we're kicking off our forensic investigation by looking at the sheer volume of new data the Pentagon has recently released to the public. Driven by massive public interest and serious congressional pressure, the Department of Defense just dropped a tranche of 161 declassified files. We're talking memos, incident reports, and sensor readouts spanning decades. Right now, we're looking at authentic, declassified infrared captures from advanced military targeting pods. They're grainy, sure, but these black and white thermal signatures are tracking heat, not just light, showing distinct blobs against the sky or ocean. While these images confirm our advanced sensors are tracking physical objects, the poor visual fidelity leaves a ton of room for debate. Are these just sensor artifacts, or are we looking at advanced craft? It gets even more interesting when we look at the official fiscal year 2023 breakdown of UAP morphologies, or in everyday language, their shapes. The data gets genuinely weird here. Notice that large gray section? About 53% of the reports don't specify a shape at all, but look closely at that massive 25% slice. 1/4 of these objects are described explicitly as orbs, rounds, or spheres. We've also got cylinders, disks, and ovals. So while a lot of sightings are pretty indistinct, a highly significant percentage of military and commercial reports are describing incredibly specific and highly unusual geometries. Section 2. Forensic Recreations via Anomalies. Now, to bridge the gap between those blurry sensor pods and the vivid, high-definition reality that pilots say they actually witnessed, we're using high-fidelity AI in this series to create realistic, forensic recreations of the 3 most baffling anomalous craft reported by top-tier military personnel. First up is the famous Tic Tac. This is exactly what Commander Fravor encountered. Pilots described a perfectly smooth, bright white oblong object roughly 40 feet long. It had absolutely no wings, no exhaust plumes, no windows, and literally no visible means of propulsion. When they spotted it, it was hovering erratically. They said it moved like a ping pong ball, just 50 feet above a massive churning disturbance in an otherwise totally calm ocean. The visual is strange enough on its own, but the telemetry data, the actual kinematics and movement of the thing, is just staggering. Based on radar operators and pilot testimony, scientific analysis calculates this object dropped from 28,000 feet down to sea level in just 0.78 seconds. Less than a second. That requires an acceleration of around 5,000 g-forces, reaching peak speeds of 90,000 miles per hour. Just to put that into perspective for you, a human fighter pilot passes out at around 9 Gs. These kinematics completely defy the structural limits of all known human-made materials and physics. Next, we have a shape that sounds like it was pulled straight out of a bizarre geometry textbook. Navy pilots, including Lieutenant Ryan Graves, reported an incredibly specific sight off the U.S. East Coast, a dark gray or black cube perfectly encased within a clear, transparent sphere. The points of the cube were literally touching the inner circumference of the sphere. Just imagine that for a second, a dark cube inside a clear sphere floating completely stationary against hurricane-force winds day after day. The third anomaly in our forensic recreation is what we're calling the rolling orange orb. In 2022, multiple witnesses aboard the USS Ronald Reagan reported a large, translucent red-orange sphere descending rapidly toward the flight deck. Witnesses described its surface as swirling and dynamic, almost like a giant lava lamp or the surface of the sun. But bizarrely, despite its intense glowing appearance, it didn't cast a single shadow or illuminate the dark ocean below it at all. So how exactly do intelligence officials categorize something that just blatantly breaks the laws of aerodynamics? Well, they use this framework known as the 5 observables.
If an object demonstrates anti-gravity lift without wings, instantaneous acceleration without turning, hypersonic velocity without a sonic boom, cloaking capabilities, or the ability to seamlessly transition from space to the air to the ocean, it falls right into this truly anomalous category. Collectively, these 5 points describe a unified physics that we as humans simply do not possess.
Section 3. The escalation, whistleblowers, and recovered craft. For years, this whole conversation was strictly about anomalous lights in the sky and confusing sensor data. But look at how rapidly the situation escalated. In 2017, a New York Times article completely blew the lid off a secret Pentagon UFO program. Then, by 2021, the Office of the Director of National Intelligence released a watershed report officially admitting that UAPs are real and largely unexplained. But the true explosion happened in July 2023. We shifted drastically from observed data to unprecedented sworn allegations of a massive cover-up when highly credentialed intelligence officials sat before Congress under oath. The most prominent of these whistleblowers is David Grusch, a former official with the National Reconnaissance Office. He claims the government has been running a multi-decade crash retrieval program and currently possesses intact and partial non-human spacecraft. And even more stunning, he testified that deceased non-human biologics, essentially the pilots of these crafts, have been recovered from crash sites, all hidden away within highly classified Special Access Programs, or SAPs. These are basically black-budget projects that allegedly evade congressional oversight entirely. And these alleged recovery operations aren't just some modern Cold War phenomenon either. Grusch cited intelligence documents pointing to a historical retrieval occurring as far back as 1933 in Magenta, Italy. Think about that date for a second, 1933. According to these claims, Mussolini's government recovered a crashed Bell-like craft, kept it hidden until the end of World War II, and then U.S. forces, allegedly with the help of the Vatican, procured it. If true, this pushes the timeline of the whole phenomenon back to an era long before modern human aviation really even took off. Section 4. The dialectic, AARO versus the whistleblowers. Okay, we've arrived at the core friction of this explainer and exactly what our upcoming Deep Dive Debate series is going to unpack. We're looking at a stark, undeniable contradiction between two official narratives coming from within the exact same government. Simply put, someone is wrong, and the implications either way are staggering. On one side, we have AARO, the Pentagon's official anomaly resolution office, stating flatly that these are just weather balloons, sky lanterns, and sensor glitches, explicitly denying any crash retrieval programs or evidence of extraterrestrial life. But on the exact opposite side, we have highly decorated military pilots and intelligence whistleblowers claiming that we're dealing with non-human technology, hidden funding, and recovered biologics. As an observer, you just have to acknowledge that the data simply does not align. And whatever this phenomenon is, it definitely isn't an isolated domestic issue. Official data reveals massive clusters of UAP reports across the United States, the Middle East, and Asia. This incredibly wide geographic spread turns a baffling mystery into an urgent priority for global aviation safety and national security. Because, let's face it, we simply cannot have objects exhibiting the 5 observables routinely infiltrating global airspace unrecognized. So, with the declassified data laid out right before you, the official denials on one hand and the explosive whistleblower testimonies on the other, the ultimate question remains entirely unanswered. What is the actual truth hiding in all this data? Are we looking at the greatest intelligence failure in modern history, or the most profound discovery of non-human technology ever? We invite you to explore the evidence, experience the AI recreations, and uncover the facts with us in our upcoming series. Thanks for joining this explainer, and get yourselves ready for the deep dive debates.